You know that sinking feeling you get when you're just trying to live your life, but suddenly everything flips upside down. I remember it like it was yesterday. The air was thick with laughter as my twin daughters, Amamira and Ava, skipped home from school, their giggles echoing through our quiet suburb of Fairfax, Virginia. Such innocence, such joy, but lurking beneath this serene facade was an undercurrent of tension, an unspoken fear that something unjust could crack our little world in two. I was the one who reassured them, telling them that everything would be okay, while inside the weight of reality felt heavier than ever. I was just a regular dad. No superhero cape, no special powers, just a man trying to provide for my family. But there was this gnawing worry that how we lived didn't matter how we were treated. Didn't matter in a world that seemed all too ready to write us off. My colleagues would assure me, oh, it's not that bad, but deep down, I knew the truth. The system was broken, and we were living evidence of its failures. Then came that day, the day I could never have anticipated. Amid the laughter, a police cruiser pulled up, and so began a chilling confrontation that would shake the foundation of our lives. In an instant, the laughter melted away into screams of horror. My daughters caught in a whirlwind no child should ever face. That was the turning point, the moment when I realized I could no longer be a passive observer. It was time to fight back, to stand up for my family and everyone else suffering in silence. The summer sun began to set that fateful afternoon, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper of impending doom. I still remember the look on my daughters' faces as they walked home, their laughter ringing like chimes in a gentle breeze. But that echo was suddenly shattered when the police cruiser slid into view, a dark omen that would change everything. Just a routine stop. Officer Mason said, his gaze hard and unyielding as he stepped out of the car. I'll never forget the shiver that ran down my spine when he pointed an accusing finger at Amamira and Ava. Did you girls steal from the grocery store? What? No. Amamira protested, confusion and fear mingling in her voice. But before we could grasp the gravity of the situation, Mason escalated the encounter with a shocking, unjustified swipe of pepper spray. Why are you doing this? They're just kids, my dear friend. Tanya yelled, her voice strained and desperate. I could see the horror etched onto my daughters' faces, their eyes wide in disbelief. You have the wrong people. The chaos that unfolded felt surreal, a nightmare encasing us in a tangible tension. Every cry for justice, every gasp of fear resonated like a drumbeat, fueling an anger that burned deep within my gut. I should have stepped in, should have fought for my daughters, but I could only watch impotent in my outrage as our lives were violently thrown into turmoil. The weeks that followed felt like an eternity. The incident exploded on social media, sparking outrage from a community that had underestimated the power of our voices. They thought we would stay silent, that the fear would bury us. But every like, every share was a rallying cry. This was not just our fight. It was for every family who had ever felt the sting of injustice. Raising my daughters in a world that seemed determined to belittle them became an uphill battle. I was filled with disbelief at the blatant betrayal of something meant to protect us. They were just girls' innocence caught in a web of systemic failure. But that very knowledge fueled the flames of my resolve. I would not let their laughter fade away. I would not let this humiliation be the end of our story. Things weren't just bad, they were spiraling into absurdity. Tanya didn't just find herself battling grief and shock. She was in the ring with a heavyweight champion named Systemic Injustice. And let's just say it had a nasty uppercut. While she juggled hospital visits and sleepless nights, the laws she used to trust felt more like a bad joke. Hiring a lawyer. Sure, they talked a good game, but each phone call was like throwing a message in a bottle marked hope. The response time was atrocious. Can you hurry up and file this already? My daughters are resting and dreaming of unicorns. I can't let them wake up to a nightmare. She vented into the phone, wondering if she was speaking through a time warp. Were lawyers always this slow, or was it just the universe conspiring against her? Meanwhile, Marcus was stuck in his own whirlwind. Reaching out to contacts from his Department of Justice days felt like trying to negotiate with a sloth slow and practically non-responsive. Oh, we're just busy with something important like paperwork, one old colleague said, because of course truth and accountability could wait. And don't get me started on the public perception. 1 minute everyone was rallying for justice, wielding their hashtags like shields. The next there were murmurs of doubt. Maybe they were just kids. Kids. It's like saying a squirrel can't steal your lunch simply because it has adorable little hands. Frustration was boiling. But amidst the haze of rejection and public doubt, tiny sparks of determination flickered. Tanya would sit by the hospital bed, her daughters dreaming of better days. Her clenched fists reminded her not today. The laughs may have faded, but they weren't gone. No, the Johnsons were just getting warmed up. There was a storm brewing, and this family thundered on each setback, forged a new strength. Each rejection lit another fire. The truth was coming one way or another. The air hangs heavy. Memories of that day crash within Marcus. His girls trembling, afraid. Each detail etched in his mind, replaying like a nightmare. Why didn't I protect them? Bitterness swells, a storm brewing inside him, threatening to drown his spirit. But then it hits, a flicker of clarity like the first light at dawn. He remembers his own battles, the cases he fought, the times he stood up to the very wall that looms before him now. Enough. What if he thought of the allies he'd lost touch with? He reaches for his phone, fingertips trembling, but there's fire in his heart. With every contact, every call made, he gathers strength. His voice, once silenced by despair, rises to cut through. They will kneel before this truth, unyielding and raw. Each ally brings a piece of armor, every shared story a verification of their fight. And in a cramped room, shadows stretch against flickering lights, the weight of justice so close, so tangible. Then he sees her, Rosa, the young intern capturing evidence, her heart bold. A new generation rising, fingers fumbling with the phone, the fight in her eyes igniting into a blaze. Someone needs to speak out. A collective gasp echoes, and suddenly they're not alone. A thrumming heartbeat of community rallies behind them. Lives, intertwined voices, like a chorus demanding acknowledgement. No longer is it just about his family. It's a movement. The crowd swells. Hope forms like a shield, pushing back against the darkness. and with every chant, every sign raised high, they find their voices. Together they will soar. Marcus's heart beats in rhythm with the pulse of change. A spark in the shadows becomes a fire of relentless purpose. Victory tastes close. The journey has just begun. As the gavel fell in the packed boardroom, silence enveloped the room. Every gaze locked on Marcus Johnson. He had spent the last hour laying bare the harsh realities faced by his daughters and the ghosts of their trauma. Each statistic and case study served a singular purpose to shatter the complacency that had allowed Officer Mason to operate without accountability. Now he took a breath, lowering his voice into a thoughtful cadence. "We just need to start believing the people you don't listen to," he declared, a quiet yet thunderous statement that hung in the air. The ripple effect was immediate. The tension crackled like a live wire as Mason's defense attorney faltered their arguments, unraveling under the weight of Marcus's raw truth. Just outside, news cameras captured every moment, headlines already beginning to form. Hearing exposes police misconduct, Johnson family leads the charge. Amongst the murmurs and frantic scribbles, a sense of justice simmered, nourished by the courage of a father standing not just for his children, but for every voice silenced in fear. Days later, sitting in their living room, the phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was Tanya, her voice shaking but resolute. "They've resigned." She shared the words, spilling out like the dawn breaking over the horizon. Each resignation echoed a hard-fought victory, a hastily penned farewell to complacency, but neither of them savoured it with arrogance. Instead, a smirk passed between them, soft and humble, a shared realization of what they had endured, an acknowledgement that victory, however sweet, came with scars. The sun streamed through the window as they exchanged a handshake, a small gesture of unity in a world that had tried to tear them apart. In this moment, they knew they had not only fought for themselves, they had ignited a spark of change within their community. But as they glanced at the framed photos of their little girls, they understood success doesn't erase the scars, it simply makes them worth it. As we conclude the journey of the Johnson sisters, we find ourselves reflecting on the powerful transformation that unfolded in Fairfax. What began as a traumatic encounter with injustice became a catalyst for change, not just for Amamira and Ava, but for their entire community. They learned that trust, once shattered, takes time to rebuild, but it can also ignite a flame of courage strong enough to challenge the status quo. For Marcus and Tanya, navigating the tumultuous waters of retaliation gave rise to deeper understanding. Power can corrupt, but it can also empower when wielded responsibly and with compassion. Yet the most controversial takeaway: can we honestly say that revenge equates to justice, or does true justice lie in the ability to forgive and build anew? These questions linger, inviting division and debate. For every triumph of accountability, there is the aching reminder that grievous scars remain. Did the Johnson family seek revenge, or did they embark on a quest for justice? The line is thin and opinions will differ. As we step back from this story, may we each consider our role in these narratives unfolding around us. Are we bystanders or advocates? Are we willing to raise our voices against injustice, even when the consensus is to stay silent? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences matter. They can illuminate paths forward for others. Remember, it is not just about what happened to the Johnsons. It's about what we choose to do next. Just like Amamira and Ava, let us all strive to create more than we destroy, bringing light to our shadows.